Hi. All right. So today we're going to talk about scientific investigation. And we've talked a little bit about this in the very beginning of school. But we're going to go back to it and talk about some key terms. All right. So if I'm writing this down, you need to make sure that you are also writing it and putting it in your binder in the science tab. So we're going to talk about two things: variables and then types of data. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is variables. All right, so when you're doing a science experiment, there are going to be things like variables that you have to think about. So variables are parts of the experiment. So there is something called an independent variable. Okay. And an independent variable is what is being tested. Okay. What are you changing? So, like, if you have, like, what is your experiment all about? So, like, if you have when I did a plant experiment in my classroom, we had 3 plants, maybe 4, might have 4 plants, and we watered them with 4 different types of solutions. So, our experiment was, what effect does certain liquids have on plants? So we watered the plants with water, of course, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew. So we wanted to see what effect the different solutions had on the plant. So our independent variable was the pop, or the water, the solution. So water, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew, those were the independent variables, okay? That is what we were changing. Everything else in the experiment stayed the same, but what the independent variable was the pop. That was changing. That's what you are manipulating, because sometimes independent variable can also be called manipulated variable. All right. Also, there is something called a dependent variable. So a dependent variable is the thing that you're measuring. And it doesn't necessarily mean getting out a ruler, but with the plants, what we were measuring was what effect the plant was going under. Like how high the plant, or what the plant looked like. That's what we were measuring. Did it grow taller? Did it grow, was it the same size? Did it get smaller? Did the color of the leaves change? So that's the dependent variable. That's what you're measuring, okay? And it does, sometimes that's called dependent because it's dependent, like it is depending on what is happening with the independent variable, okay? And then constant. What is staying the same? Well, when we did the plant experiment, the amount of liquid was constant. If we poured a half a cup into the plants, that's how much that was constant. That stayed the same. The time of day we watered the plants, that stayed the same. The type of plant stayed the same. Where the plants were in the room stayed the same. So those are all constants. And when you do an experiment, you only want to change one thing, everything else should be a constant. I've done a PEEP experiment before where we took 4 PEEPs and put them in 4 different types of solution. Same type of PEEP, same color PEEP, same amount of liquid. We left them in the same amount of time. The only thing that changed was the liquid. Again, the independent variable. The dependent variable was what the PEEP looked like. The constant was what stayed the same. Okay? And again, we'll go through. Today, you're going to do an activity about quantitative and qualitative. But on Thursday, you'll do independent variable and dependent variable. Maybe. You might get to it today. I don't know. It just depends on how long the other one is. But anyway, so don't quote me. I may have you do both of those today. I just have to look at the time. Anyway, so independent variable is the thing that changes in an experiment. What's being tested. If you want to do an experiment on the flavor, oh gosh, this is hard to come up with off the top of my head. Like maybe bubblegum and how long bubblegum keeps its flavor. Well, the thing that would change would be the brand type, the amount of time you chewed it, and that would stay the same. How many times you blew a bubble, that would have to stay the same. But the thing that changed would be the brand, because that's what you're testing. Okay, so let's move on to types of data. Okay. So types of data, when you were collecting dependent variables, when you're collecting that information, you were going to look at qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative. All right, so qualitative, I'm going to box in my L. Qualitative data is data that can be observed but not measured. Okay. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? So you're going to use your 5 senses. Okay. So you're going to use your 5 senses. Qualitative, the looks. Okay, so we boxed in our L because of the looks. So qualitative, what does it look like? You can also use what does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? But you get the idea. We're going to use our senses. And then the other one is quantitative. Quantitative. I always very much spell these because there's so many T's in this. Quantitative. Okay. Number. So I'm going to box in my N. Okay. We use numbers. This can be measured. Okay. It grew 8 inches. It weighs 5 pounds. That is quantitative. Qualitative would be it turned brown. It feels coarser. When we did the PEEPS experiment, when we put it in an acetone, like nail polish remover, it was cold when you touched it. So that is qualitative. Quantitative would be it weighs 3 grams less than before. That would be quantitative. All right, let's look at this right here. Okay, so quantitative data. This is data that can be counted or measured. Okay, quantitative. So there are 7 flies there. Qualitative is collecting data with observations and senses. Okay, there are yellow flowers, blue and red. You're using all of your senses. Okay, so I wanted to look at these. Number 1, we're going to read the following examples and decide whether the data is qualitative or quantitative. Number 1, the girl is 5 feet 10 inches. Okay, you're using numbers, 5 feet 10 inches. If it's 5 feet 10 inches, you are measuring with numbers. So that would be quantitative. Okay. The stingray was slimy. Number 2, the stingray was slimy. I don't have any numbers, so that's going to be qualitative because it's based on looks or your senses. Qualitative. Number 3, her hair was black. Her hair was black, so you're talking about the color. So that would be qualitative. The apples are green. Again, talking about color. So what you're seeing. So that would be qualitative. The stone is shiny. And again, that's talking about look. So that would be qualitative. Number 6, the dog weighs 15 pounds. 15 pounds, you're weighing it. And I see a number, so that is quantitative. Quantitative. Number 7, 69% of Americans shop online. There's a number there. It's a percentage, so that is quantitative. Number 8, the students are friendly. That does not give me a number. That is based on an observation that I'm using my 5 senses. It's a little bit of a stretch, but it's still qualitative. Number 9, the age of your pet. The age, so that's a number. So that is not quantitative. Number 10, the color of the sky. So that is qualitative. The color of the sky, that is qualitative. All right, let's look at this, and then I'm going to stop. All right, quantitative versus qualitative. Read the following experiments and decide whether it is a qualitative or a quantitative experiment. Fish movement in an aquarium. Fish movement in an aquarium. Are they asking for how far they went or how much they weighed? No, that's probably a qualitative. You're probably looking at the fish, watching them move. So that's qualitative. 2, time if boys run faster than girls. Is that quantitative or qualitative? That's going to be quan because a number is, time is a number. So that is quantitative. Number 3, find out which gemstone has the most sparkle. That's going to be qualitative because you're talking about something, how something looks. And then number 4, the distance between tall trees in a rainforest. So distance, that's going to be a number, and that is quantitative. All right, just remember that when we're talking about qualitative versus quantitative, you are talking about the way something looks, qualitative. And then quantitative is how you use numbers. Please make sure that you have copied this down and you have it. You have to be able to use your notes when you're working on some of these things, okay? Because I'm not there to help you. So if you have your notes, that's the way I'm helping, all right? So copy these down and then keep them with you while you're working, and then keep them in your binder in the science tab. All right, bye.